Hey everyone, welcome to the Learning Ladder. I had a request to do a flip through of Saxon Math 8.7. So you get the big, massive textbook, test and worksheets, and then the solutions manual. Okay, there are always 120 lessons in Saxon. Then there are 12 investigations on top of that. And then there are at least 10 tests. Sometimes there are more, depending on what level you do. But I think there are 10. I'm just going to check in this one. There were 10 in the last one we did. And they always have the appendix at the back with some extra supplementary practice problems should you need to do those. Beginning, they always explain Saxon's philosophy, how it's incremental development, continual review, and so on, which I do appreciate. In the back of the tests and worksheets, they do have pages that you can actually photocopy if you'd like to for personal use. And these are all the different types of recording forms that you could use should you wish to. Some people write in the textbook. We don't do that. I use graph paper, but they do have these little graph paper sections in the back that you can photocopy. I have done that previously, but for this year we've used graph paper and notebook, which has worked really well. So they go through the timing. So warm-up should take 10 to 15 minutes. You do fact practice as well, mental math, problem solving as part of that. Then the new concept, which is 5 to 15 minutes for most lessons. Lesson practice, which is 5 to 10 minutes, and then your mixed practice, which is 20 to 40 minutes. Okay, so there are 23 tests in Saxon 8.7. There you go. Maybe we only did 10 for a reason. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check whether there were more than 10 in our last one, but we only did 10 of them. I think I just must have picked which ones I thought were appropriate. But anyway, there are 23 tests if you want to do them as part of 8.7. They always have a supply list of things that you would need as well. Okay, so we'll look at several lessons. Now, just so you know, with Saxon, the beginning of the book, I'd say almost half is a lot of review from the previous year. Then halfway onwards, definitely towards the end, you get to all the new concepts. So unlike a regular school year where it's easier at the end in terms of, you're finishing up, everything's done. With Saxon, it's the other way. Everything new is at the end. I think they did that because this was a curriculum that was designed for school use, so obviously they wanted to keep everyone up to date after the big school holidays and everything, get everyone on the same level. I don't know, but that's how it works. So you always have your warm-up section here, which includes your fact practice sheets, which I'll show you in a minute, your mental math, problem solving. Then you have your new concept, which you can go over with your student or they can read it themselves. I've always gone over it with my daughter. Then they have the lesson practice section, which again we always do together, and then she does her mixed practice problem set herself, and that's where the spiral the incremental stuff comes in the beginning of the lessons, obviously, because it builds upon, but the spiral review comes at the mixed practice section. So the way Saxon works is they'll tell you about a concept in little bite-sized pieces until you finally get to the point where they've got to the whole concept. It's an unusual way, I feel, to do it, but I actually do think it's very successful because you're not overwhelmed initially. So, for example, when we were learning division, they broke it up into different stages to the where we eventually got to long, and then we went back again and did short. So I just like the way they do actually do their lessons. Okay, so I've just skipped to lesson 46. Again, here we've got our fact practice. We've got mental math here. We've got our problem solving, new concept, lesson practice, and then that's quite a long lesson practice, and then straight on to mixed practice. And there are 30 questions as part of the mixed practice. Now, if you notice, they've all got a little number by them. That means if your child was having difficulty with that particular question, they could refer back to that lesson and it would help them to go over the lesson again. So, for example, in this particular question, they learnt this in lesson 40. So if they're having trouble, they could go back to lesson 40 and have a refresher. I do really appreciate that. I also really appreciate it because we don't always do every single problem in the mixed practice section, odds or evens, but I always like her to do the problems that are from the actual lesson we've just done. So I can easily scroll through and just check, okay, are there any questions in here that are related to that lesson we've just done? And then she'll do those ones as well as the odds or evens. I'm just doing this at random, picking different things. So this is what an investigation looks like. So it's completely different than a regular lesson. For this one, we're using a compass and straight edge. Showing you all the instructions of how to do it, and then obviously you complete it. There are, as I said, 12 different investigations throughout the book. Okay, this is lesson 97. Okay, so we've got our fact practice again. I'll show you those sheets in a minute. You've got your mental math here, problem solving. Again, you've got your new concept over here. And this is obviously quite a long one. They do vary in terms of how many pages you get per lesson. This obviously is quite in-depth. And then we've got our lesson practice. Then we've got our mixed problem section. Okay, and then let's just skip to, I don't know, let's see what lesson this is. The pages are perforated if you wanted to rip them out. We've never done that. Okay, let's just do this one. So this is lesson 108. Again, you've got your facts practice, mental math, problem solving, new concept, lesson practice, short one that time, mixed practice, and then 119, so we're right at the end now. Again, this is quite a long one. So if you are going to skip any pages, don't skip the back ones, because that's where all the new concepts are. But I'd say for at least 20 of the lessons, it's all review at the beginning of the book. But I don't think that's a bad thing, because obviously you've had the break. Here's your investigation 12. You've had the break of the summer, and also some of the concepts are obviously easier than others, so it's nice to just have a quick refresh. That's how I always feel. We don't skip the sections usually. We always just do them anyway, the review sections. Well, they're not review sections, they're just lessons, but we don't usually skip. Here's a supplementary, so if you're having any issues, you could go back to those. So that's what 8-7 looks like. So in terms of topics, this is what we've got here. Okay, so tests and worksheets. This is your test and worksheet section. So this is where it says fact practice. This is what you would refer to, and this has also got all those 23 tests in. So at the beginning it starts off, as we've discussed, review. So this is just basic multiplication. It also does have, there are some equations here. It also does have any handouts that you need for specific lessons. So for example, for this one, this is what they'll need for their activity sheet for their investigation. So these are all in here as well in the same book. Okay. So this is what this looks like. This is a fact practice test. These are new. This is different from previous ones. I don't recall one of those like that. Lines, angles, and polygons. Metric conversions, mixed numbers. I'm just skipping through area, percent, decimal fraction equivalents. This is obviously for one of those investigations. So those are all the fact practice sheets. Well, not all of them, but a little glimpse at them. Then, for example, the tests. So this is what a test would look like. In this case, there are 20 questions, and there were 23 tests apparently. Now, here's those extra sheets I was talking about. So there's recording sheets, lesson workout sheets and things. If you want to use those, you just photocopy them. We have done that in the past, but this year we used notebook paper, graph paper. So here's your solutions manual, and this is probably my favourite part about Saxon in terms of marking it, because it breaks the whole, it doesn't just give you the answer, it breaks down the working out, which is really helpful, because you can see where they went wrong without having to work the whole thing yourself, which is fine in like younger years, but obviously as they get older there's more, and the questions are more in depth, and if you don't want to spend 5-10 minutes trying to figure out the answer to a question, you can see the steps, which I really, really appreciate when you're checking their answers. So it does have all the lessons and investigation answers in here. It doesn't have the fact sheets in here though, so that is something you just have to work out yourself. There was in the last one we did, there was for the tests. So where it's a fact practice test, it will have the answers, but where it's just a regular fact practice sheet, there are no answers for that in this particular solutions manual, so you would have to check that yourself. But other than that, all the answers are in here, which is great. Makes marking really simple. We've really enjoyed Saxon. As you can see, it's not the most beautiful looking curriculum, or remotely anything like that, but it works. We been using it throughout. We used it through K through 3. I did try something in the 4 in grade 4, but we didn't prefer it. She wanted to go back to Saxon, so then we went back to 5-4, and we've done up to now obviously 8-7. We do really like it. It works really well. So that is Saxon Math 8-7. If you've got any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.